Commander Eli Reeves stared out the viewport as his ship approached the Xilarian homeworld. The planet glowed with soft blue light, unlike anything on Earth. Strange crystal towers rose from the surface, catching starlight and sending it back into space in dazzling patterns. "First time seeing Xilaria Prime, Commander?" asked the pilot. "Yes," Eli replied, hiding his nervousness. "It's more beautiful than the pictures." Eli was Earth's newest ambassador to the Xilarians. These tall, crystal-skinned aliens controlled hundreds of star systems with their advanced technology. Humans, still new to space travel, needed strong friends like the Xilarians, especially with the dangerous Voidborn collective growing stronger every day. What the pilot didn't know was Eli's secret mission. Earth needed more than friendship. They needed Xilarian warships to protect human colonies from the Voidborn's attacks. Only Earth's top leaders knew this real purpose. The ship landed at the Crystal Spaceport with a gentle bump. Eli straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and checked his appearance one last time. First impressions mattered, especially with Xilarians. A group of tall figures waited for him outside. Their skin sparkled with inner light, patterns shifting across their bodies like living artwork. Most Xilarians stood nearly 7 feet tall, making Eli feel small despite his 6-foot height. "Welcome to Xilaria Prime, Human Ambassador Reeves," said an official with green patterns flowing across his face. "I am Delegate Sorix. The Royal Harmony has sent me to escort you to the palace." Eli bowed exactly 20 degrees, the proper Xilarian greeting between equals. "Thank you for the honor, Delegate Sorix. Earth values its friendship with the Xilarian people." As they walked through the Crystal City, Eli noticed how other Xilarians watched him with curious but cold eyes. Humans were still a novelty to them, interesting but considered primitive. The last human ambassador had made several cultural mistakes, making Eli's job even harder. The royal palace rose before them, a massive structure that seemed to be made of liquid crystal frozen in mid-flow. Guards with glowing staffs stood at attention as Eli's group approached. "The Princess Regent will receive you," Sorix announced, surprising Eli. He had expected a minor official, not royalty. They entered a vast hall where light danced through crystal walls, creating patterns that seemed alive. At the far end, seated on a floating crystal throne, was Princess Nilara. Even among Xilarians, she was striking. Her skin patterns flowed in complex purple and blue designs. Unlike other Xilarians' simple gray robes, she wore flowing garments that shifted colors with her movements. Her eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, studied Eli intensely. Eli approached and bowed deeply, 30 degrees this time, showing respect to royalty. "So," Princess Nilara said, her voice musical but cold, "Earth sends another diplomat. The last one failed to understand our ways." "I have studied your culture extensively, Your Luminance," Eli replied, using the proper royal title. "I hope to represent Earth with greater understanding." The princess's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "We shall see, human representative. Your species is young and emotional. These are not qualities Xilarians admire. Different qualities can be complementary rather than conflicting," Eli suggested carefully. For a brief moment, curiosity flashed across the princess's face, her skin patterns shifting to a lighter blue. Then the cold mask returned. "You will attend the diplomatic reception tonight," she stated. "We shall test your understanding of our ways." As Eli was escorted to his quarters, he realized his mission would be harder than expected. The princess clearly shared her people's view of humans as primitive. Yet in that moment of curiosity, he had seen something else, a mind that might be willing to look beyond differences. Somehow, he needed to reach that hidden side of Princess Nilara. Earth's future might depend on it. 1 week after the assassination attempt, Eli returned to his diplomatic duties. His chest still hurt where the energy beam had struck him, but humans healed quickly compared to Xilarians. Strangely, Princess Nilara now avoided him completely. When they passed in the crystal hallways, she looked away. At meetings, she sent representatives instead of attending herself. Did I offend her by saving her life? Eli wondered. Late one night, Eli received another encrypted message from Earth Command. Surveillance confirms Princess Nilara met with Voidborn agent yesterday. Location: abandoned mining facility, northern region. Gather evidence of her betrayal. Eli stared at the message for a long time. Could it really be true? He decided to investigate himself before reporting anything. The next day, he told his staff he needed to visit a human cultural exhibition in the Northern District. Instead, he took a small flyer to the abandoned mining area. He landed a mile away and approached on foot, hiding behind crystal formations. The old facility looked empty at first. Then Eli saw light coming from deep inside. He crept closer, staying in shadows. Voices echoed from the main chamber. "The mind control technology is working perfectly," said a male voice. "The king doesn't even know what he's revealing to us." Eli froze. Mind control. The king. How much longer before my father is completely lost? That was Princess Nilara's voice, sounding worried. Perhaps 1 month. The Voidborn signal grows stronger in his mind each day. Eli risked a peek inside. Princess Nilara stood facing a Xelarian in a science uniform. On a table between them was a strange device with pulsing lights. "And this will block the signal?" the princess asked. "Yes, your luminance, but it must be placed directly on the king's sleeping chamber. The risk of discovery is high." "I'll find a way," she said firmly. "My father must be freed before the Voidborn launch their full attack." Eli accidentally knocked over a small crystal, making a soft sound. The princess's head turned sharply. "Someone's here. Go. Take the device. I'll investigate." Eli tried to retreat, but Princess Nilara moved with surprising speed. She found him behind a crystal column, her hand already on her energy dagger. "Commander Reeves." She lowered the weapon, her skin patterns showing shock. "Your luminance, I can explain," Eli began. "You're spying on me." Her patterns shifted to anger. "Of course. Earth suspected me all along, didn't they?" "They detected your meetings with Voidborn agents," Eli admitted. "But I just heard enough to know the truth. You're not a traitor. You're trying to save your father." The princess's anger faded, replaced by intense patterns of calculation. "How much do you know?" she asked. "The Voidborn are controlling the king's mind. You're working with someone to stop it. But why keep this secret? Why not tell Earth?" Princess Nilara's shoulders dropped slightly. "Who could I trust? The Voidborn have spies everywhere. If I reported this officially, my father would be removed from power immediately. The succession crisis would weaken us just as the Voidborn attack." She stepped closer. "And now you know. What will you tell Earth Command?" Eli made his decision instantly. "Not the truth. Not yet." Her eyes widened. "You would lie to your own government. Why?" "Because I believe you're doing the right thing. And because," he hesitated, "I think we want the same thing, peace and safety for both our peoples." For the first time, Princess Nilara looked at him without any royal mask or diplomatic filter. Her skin patterns showed genuine surprise and something else, perhaps hope. "Then help me, Eli Reeves," she said, using his first name for the first time ever. "Help me save my father and stop the Voidborn. But understand, this path may cost us both everything." For the next 2 weeks, Eli watched Princess Nilara carefully. He looked for any sign that she was working with the Voidborn, but found nothing suspicious. Instead, he saw her working long hours to strengthen Solaria's defenses and improve relations with Earth. Could Earth Command be wrong? He wondered late one night. The princess had just spent 3 hours discussing better protection for human colonies. Would a traitor do that? The day of crystal harmony arrived, the biggest celebration in Solarian culture. The royal family would parade through the capital city, their ceremonial robes catching light in stunning displays. "You will join the procession, Commander Reeves," Princess Nilara told him. It is tradition for important allies to walk behind the royal family. Eli bowed. I'm honored, Your Luminance. That morning, the streets filled with Solarians. Their skin patterns all shifted to celebration colors, bright yellows and pinks that made the crowd look like a sea of living jewels. The royal harmony, Princess Nilara, her father King Sorrel, and her younger brother Prince Vex, appeared in gleaming robes that sent rainbow light dancing across the buildings. Eli walked 10 steps behind them, the only human in the procession. As they reached the central plaza, Eli noticed something strange. 3 Solarians in the crowd weren't showing celebration colors. Their skin patterns remained dark gray. Security alert. Eli whispered into his communicator, but it was too late. The 3 Solarians raised weapons and fired at the royal family. King Sorrel's guards moved to protect him, but Princess Nilara stood exposed, her 4 eyes wide with shock. Eli didn't stop to think. He lunged forward, pushing the princess aside as a beam of energy cut through the air. Burning pain exploded in his chest as the shot meant for her struck him instead. Eli collapsed to the crystal street. Through blurry vision, he saw security forces capturing the assassins. Princess Nilara knelt beside him, her skin flashing with patterns he'd never seen before, rapid pulses of deep red and white. Medical team. Now, she shouted, her usually calm voice breaking. Are you hurt? Eli managed to ask. You foolish human, she said, her hands pressing against his wound to stop the bleeding. That shot would have killed me instantly. Solarian bodies cannot survive such energy. Lucky, humans are tougher, he whispered before darkness took him. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dreams and reality mixed as Eli drifted in and out of consciousness. He was in the Royal Medical Facility, advanced machines working to repair his damaged body. Sometimes he thought he felt a cool, crystalline hand holding his. Once, he was sure he heard Princess Nilara's voice speaking softly. On the 3rd day, he fully awakened. A Solarian doctor stood over him, checking readings. You will live, Commander, the doctor said, though it was uncertain for some time. Eli looked around. The princess, is she safe? Yes. The assassins were Voidborn operatives disguised as Solarians. All were captured. The doctor hesitated, then added, I should inform you of something unusual. Princess Nilara remained by your side for 3 days, leaving only when required for essential duties. Such behavior, he seemed uncomfortable, is not normal for Solarian royalty. It violates several ancient protocols. Eli was stunned. She stayed with me. Yes, many in the court are discussing it. The doctor's skin showed patterns of diplomatic discomfort. When you are recovered, you will likely be summoned to explain this unusual situation. As the doctor left, Eli stared at the ceiling, confused but hopeful. Why would the princess break important protocols to stay with him? Unless she cared more than she showed. Then he remembered Earth Command's warning. Was her concern genuine, or was she playing a deeper game? Chaos erupted throughout the Crystal Palace. Solarian officials rushed in all directions, preparing for the Voidborn attack. Emergency lights flashed, turning the normally beautiful crystal walls blood red. We have no time for our original plan, Princess Nilara said, her skin still glowing from the soul resonance. We must free my father now, before the Voidborn fleet arrives. Eli nodded. I'll create a distraction. You get to the king with the device. No, she grabbed his arm. We go together. The Voidborn agents in the palace will be watching both of us now. They moved quickly through back corridors, avoiding the main hallways filled with rushing guards and officials. Dr. Zenith had given them the signal-blocking device, a small crystal disc that pulsed with inner light. As they neared the king's chambers, Princess Nilara suddenly pulled Eli into a small side room. Something's wrong, she whispered. Too few guards. She was right. The entrance to the royal suite had only 2 guards instead of the usual 8. It's a trap, Eli realized. They know we're coming. Princess Nilora's eyes narrowed. Then we make our own entrance. She led Eli to a service panel in the wall and pressed her hand against it. The crystal wall shimmered and opened, revealing the narrow passage. Royal emergency escape route. Only the royal family knows of it. They slipped inside and moved toward the king's private chamber. Through a thin crystal wall, they could see King Sorrel sitting motionless on his throne. But he wasn't alone. General Vorix, the Xilarian military leader who had always hated humans, stood beside him. A strange device was attached to the back of the king's head, pulsing with sickly green light. "The Voidborn fleet approaches, Your Majesty," Vorix was saying. "Earth ships are moving to defend us. You know what you must do." The king's voice sounded flat, empty. "Yes. Activate our planetary defense system. Target the Earth ships." Eli gasped. The Voidborn plan became clear. They would make Sileria destroy Earth's fleet, breaking the alliance and leaving both worlds vulnerable. Princess Nilora didn't hesitate. She burst through the hidden door, the blocking device in her hand. "Father, you're being controlled." General Vorix spun around, drawing his energy weapon. "Princess, how convenient. Now I can eliminate both royal problems at once." Eli charged into the room behind Nilara. Years of diplomatic training hadn't prepared him for combat against a Xilarian general, but he had to try. Vorix fired his weapon. Eli pushed the princess aside, taking a glancing hit to his arm. The pain was incredible, but he kept moving, tackling Vorix to the ground. "Nilara, the device. Now," he shouted, using her first name in the heat of battle. As Eli and Vorix struggled, Princess Nilara rushed to her father. The king's eyes were distant, controlled. He grabbed her arm, surprisingly strong. "Traitor," he hissed in a voice not his own. "The Voidborn will cleanse this galaxy." "Father, fight it." She pressed the blocking device against his temple. Vorix threw Eli off and aimed his weapon at Princess Nilara. "Die, royal fool." Eli lunged again, grabbing the general's arm. The weapon discharged, hitting a crystal column that shattered into thousands of pieces. Across the room, the king convulsed as the blocking device fought against the mind control technology. Princess Nilara held it firmly in place despite her father's struggles. Suddenly, Vorix broke free from Eli's grip. He pulled a second, smaller weapon and pointed it at the princess. "For the Voidborn," he screamed. Eli didn't think. He threw himself between the weapon and Princess Nilara, just as Vorix fired. A strange, dark energy hit Eli directly in the chest. It wasn't a normal weapon. Black tendrils spread across his body like poison. "Eli!" Princess Nilara screamed as he collapsed to the floor. The last thing Eli saw was Vorix standing over him, smiling cruelly. "Neural toxin," the general said. "No cure. You die slowly, human, while watching us destroy your world." For the next 2 weeks, Eli and Princess Nilara worked in secret to free King Sorrel from Voidborn control. Eli sent false reports to Earth Command, claiming the princess's meetings were part of her own counterintelligence operation. Meanwhile, Nilara introduced Eli to her trusted ally, Dr. Zenith, a brilliant Xilarian scientist who had discovered the mind control technology. "The device must be placed here," Dr. Zenith explained, showing them a diagram of the king's private chambers, within 2 feet of his sleeping pod. "It will gradually break the Voidborn signal without alerting them." "The royal chambers are guarded at all times," Princess Nilara said. "Even I am checked for devices when I visit my father." "Then we need a distraction," Eli suggested. "Something big enough to pull guards away temporarily." They developed a plan. Eli would arrange a special Earth cultural presentation for the Xilarian court, something never seen before that would draw everyone's attention. During this event, Princess Nilara would place the signal-blocking device in her father's chambers. The night before their plan was to begin, Eli and Princess Nilara stood on a high balcony overlooking the Crystal City. The 3 moons of Sileria cast silver light across the spires, making them glow like frozen fire. If we succeed, Eli said quietly, what happens next? We prepare for war, Princess Nilara replied. The Voidborn will attack once they realize they've lost control of my father. They've been planning this for years. Earth will stand with Celeria, Eli promised. The princess turned to him, her 4 eyes studying his face. Why are you helping me, Commander? You're risking your career, possibly your life. Earth might consider this treason. Eli looked out at the beautiful alien city that had become his home over the past 5 years. The words he had kept inside for so long rose to his lips before he could stop them. I have loved you for years, he told the alien princess. The moment the words left his mouth, Eli regretted them. What had he done? Such a personal confession to Xelarian royalty was probably some terrible cultural offense. He waited for her anger or disgust. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Princess Nilara's crystalline skin began to glow with intense patterns of blue and purple light, colors that pulsed and flowed across her body in waves. The light was so bright that it illuminated the entire balcony. Eli stepped back, alarmed. Your luminance? Are you ill? The princess lifted a shaking hand. This is impossible, she whispered. What's happening? Eli asked, deeply concerned. Soul resonance, she said, her voice unsteady. A biological response that happens when a Xelarian meets their life mate. It's involuntary. Our bodies recognize the one we are meant to bond with for life. But it has never happened with another species. It should be biologically impossible. She moved closer to him, her skin still pulsing with light. I've been fighting this for years, Eli. Since the day you saved that child at the festival, my body recognized something in you that matched something in me. I thought it was a malfunction. I even consulted doctors secretly. You mean? Eli began, trying to understand. I mean that by Xelarian biology, we are already partly bonded, she said. My physical form chose you long ago, against everything we thought possible between our species. Before Eli could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the palace. Red warning lights flashed across the crystal walls. Emergency broadcast from Earth Space Command. A voice announced over the palace speakers. Voidborn fleet detected entering Xelarian system. Estimated arrival time. 6 hours. The princess's skin patterns shifted instantly to emergency alert colors. It's begun, she whispered. They know we've discovered their plan. Black tendrils of toxin spread through Eli's body. Each breath became harder as the poison worked deeper. Princess Nilara knelt beside him, her skin patterns showing deep distress. Behind them, King Sorrel groaned as the blocking device fought against the Voidborn control. His eyes cleared slightly, flickering between empty blankness and awareness. General Vorex laughed. Too late, Princess. The Earth fleet is already in range of our weapons. He moved toward the control panel across the room. With the last of his strength, Eli grabbed Vorex's ankle. The general stumbled, giving Princess Nilara just enough time to leap forward and strike him with a crystal paperweight from her father's desk. Vorex collapsed unconscious. Father. She turned back to the king, who was slowly regaining control of himself. Nilara. What happened? King Sorrel blinked in confusion. Voidborn control, father. No time to explain. The planet's defense system. You must stop it from targeting Earth ships. The king struggled to his feet, still dizzy but himself again. I will stop it. Go to the communication center. Warn the Earth fleet. As the king hurried out, Princess Nilara returned to Eli's side. Black veins now covered most of his body. His breathing was shallow. Stay with me, Eli, she pleaded, holding his hand. Our medical team is coming. Too late, Eli whispered. Neural toxin. No cure. I refuse to accept that. Her voice was fierce. Suddenly her 4 eyes widened. Unless there is one possibility. She called Dr. Zenith on her communicator. After a brief explanation, the doctor's voice came back, alarmed. Soul resonance healing. It's never been attempted between species. The risk to you is extreme. Your luminance. Is there any other cure for void-born neural toxin? She demanded. No, the doctor admitted. But princess, if you attempt this and fail, you could both die. Then I die trying, she said, ending the call. She turned back to Eli, whose eyes were starting to close. Eli, listen to me. Silurians have an ancient healing ability. We can share life force through complete soul resonance. It's only used between bonded mates in dire circumstances. Too dangerous for you, he managed to say. My body has already chosen you, she said, her skin beginning to glow with the same patterns as before. And now I choose you with my mind as well. Princess Nilara placed her hands on either side of Eli's face. The glow from her skin intensified, spreading to touch his skin. Where her light met the black toxin veins, there was a sizzling sound. Your mind, reach for mine, she instructed. Eli didn't understand, but he focused on the princess, on everything he knew about her, everything he felt for her. Suddenly, his mind filled with new sensations. Alien thoughts, memories, and feelings flooded through him. He could feel Nilara's consciousness touching his own. The pain was incredible as two different species' minds tried to connect. Both of them cried out. But something unexpected happened. Eli's human brain, more flexible and adaptable than Silurian minds, began to adjust to the connection. Through their linked minds, Eli could feel his immune system, enhanced by Nilara's life force, attacking the toxin. The black veins began to recede. At the same time, something even more extraordinary occurred. The partial bond between them, the one Nilara's biology had started years ago, completed itself. Human and Silurian consciousness merged in ways neither species had thought possible. When palace guards finally broke into the room, they found an unconscious human and princess, their hands still connected, surrounded by a blinding white light. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 3 days later, Eli woke in the palace medical center. Beside his bed sat Princess Nilara, watching him with all 4 eyes. The void-born fleet, he asked immediately. Destroyed, she smiled. When we completed our bond, it somehow activated Siluria's deepest defense systems, ones even we had forgotten existed. And us? What happened to us? He asked, feeling strangely different inside his own mind. Something new in the galaxy, she said, taking his hand. Her skin patterns matched the pulse of his heartbeat exactly. Neither fully human nor fully Silurian, but something stronger than both. Eli's personal communicator buzzed at midnight. He tapped the secure line, and the face of Admiral Chen from Earth Command appeared. Commander Reeves, this transmission is level Alpha secure, she said, her expression grim. We have troubling news. The Voidborn Collective has infiltrated the Silurian royal court. Eli sat up straight. How certain are we? Very. Someone close to the royal harmony is passing information to our enemies. Fleet movements, defense codes, alliance negotiations, all reaching Voidborn ears. A traitor in the inner circle, Eli whispered. The implications were enormous. Who? That's what you need to find out. Discreetly, keep performing your diplomatic duties, but identify the traitor. Earth's safety depends on it. After the call ended, Eli stared out his window at the crystal spires of the Silurian capital. 5 years of building trust could be destroyed if he made one wrong move. The next morning, he received surprising news. Princess Nilara had personally requested him to co-lead negotiations for a new Earth-Siluria trade agreement. They would be working closely together for the next several weeks. Eli felt conflicted. This was a perfect opportunity to investigate the court, but also raised an uncomfortable question. Could Princess Nilara herself be the traitor? Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Your proposal lacks ambition, Commander Reeves, Princess Nilara said as they sat alone in her private study. Crystal walls shifted colors around them, currently a calm blue that matched her skin patterns. Earth is offering what we can reasonably provide, Eli replied. We're still rebuilding from the Voidborn attacks on our outer colonies. The princess's 4 eyes studied him intensely. Tell me about these attacks. Our intelligence reports are incomplete. Eli carefully shared details, watching for any reaction that might reveal insider knowledge. Instead, he saw genuine concern in her changing skin patterns. The Voidborn are becoming bolder, she said quietly. They test our borders too. This is why this alliance matters. As they worked together day after day, Eli noticed changes in the princess. She began asking personal questions about Earth, human customs, and his own life. Each question seemed innocent, but together they formed a pattern of growing interest. Your species forms friendship bonds with non-family members, correct? She asked one afternoon. Yes, friendship is very important to humans. How do you identify a true friend versus someone merely being diplomatic? Eli smiled. Time reveals truth. A real friend stands with you when there's nothing to gain. The princess's skin flickered with rapid patterns. Fascinating. Silurians primarily form bonds through family and political alliances. Your way seems less efficient but perhaps more resilient. As weeks passed, Eli gathered information on the court members, discreetly investigating each one. Meanwhile, his relationship with the princess grew warmer, though always professional. One evening, while reviewing documents, Princess Nilara made an unusual request. I would like to learn a human greeting custom, she said. I believe you call it a handshake. Eli was surprised, but stood and offered his hand. Like this, your luminance. The princess hesitated, then placed her crystalline hand in his. The touch sent an unexpected warmth through Eli's arm. Her skin glowed briefly with purple light, a color he had never seen in her patterns before. An interesting sensation, she said, withdrawing her hand quickly. Direct physical contact is rare among Silurians not of the same family line. Later that night, Eli received an encrypted message from Earth. Check Princess Nilara's private communications. 3 meetings with known Voidborn agents detected in past month. Eli stared at the message, feeling a growing knot in his stomach. Had he misjudged her completely? The diplomatic reception that night was unlike anything Eli had ever seen. Crystal chandeliers floated without support, casting rainbow patterns across the grand hall. Important Silurians stood in perfect circles, their skin glowing with status colors. Bright gold for royalty, deep blue for scientists, and burning orange for military leaders. Eli entered wearing his best Earth uniform. He felt eyes turn to him. The only human in a sea of tall, glittering aliens. The human appears lost, a voice said loudly. Perhaps he needs a guide rope like a child. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Eli kept his face calm even as his cheeks burned. He recognized the speaker as General Vorix, known for disliking humans. Thank you for your concern, General, Eli replied with a perfect Silurian bow. But on Earth, we teach our children to find their own way. It builds character. The general's skin patterns darkened with surprise. Princess Nilara, watching from across the room, tilted her head slightly. Later that evening, as Eli spoke with a Silurian trade minister, the lights suddenly went out. The room filled with confused voices. Silurians, used to perfect technology, seemed frozen with uncertainty. Eli pulled out his pocket light and called out calmly, "Please remain in place. This is likely a simple power failure." "Impossible," someone said. "Our systems never fail." But Eli was already moving toward a control panel he had noticed earlier. Using his light, he located the emergency reset, a human addition that Silurians had installed but never expected to use. The lights returned. Standing near the panel was Princess Nilara. "Quick thinking, human representative," she said, her voice still cool but lacking its earlier dismissal. "Perhaps there is value in preparing for unlikely events." ******. 2 years passed. Eli established himself as a respected voice in the Silurian court. though Princess Nilara still kept her distance, calling him only the human representative in public meetings. That changed during the Crystal Moon Festival. Eli watched as hundreds of Silurian children built delicate crystal structures in the main plaza. Princess Nilara stood nearby, overseeing the ancient tradition. Suddenly, one of the larger crystal towers began to collapse. A young Silurian child stood directly underneath, frozen in fear. Without hesitation, Eli raced forward, diving to push the child clear as the crystal structure crashed down. Sharp edges sliced through his uniform, cutting into his shoulder and back. Palace guards rushed forward, pulling the heavy crystals off him. Eli sat up, bleeding but smiling at the scared child. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The child shook its head. Princess Nilara approached, her skin pattern swirling with an emotion Eli couldn't read. "You risked your life," she stated. "The child is not of your family line or even your species." Eli shrugged, then winced at the pain. "On Earth, we protect all children, not just our own." For the first time, the princess used his name. "Commander Reeves, you will join my advisory council meetings starting tomorrow." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 3 more years passed. Eli and Princess Nilara developed a cautious professional relationship. She requested him specifically for important meetings, though always maintained formal distance. What Eli didn't know was that Princess Nilara studied him constantly. She watched recordings of his meetings, his interactions with other Xilarians, and even requested reports on human culture from her intelligence services. "Their unpredictability is both primitive and powerful," she told her personal advisor. "They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic, yet somehow achieve results we cannot predict." "Is that not dangerous, Your Luminance?" asked the advisor. Princess Nilara's skin glowed with an unusual pattern, one that, in Silurian biology, indicated deep personal interest. "Perhaps," she answered, "or perhaps it is exactly what our people need in the coming darkness."